There was no translation of the last part of Mario's last film, so no idea what's about, but I like it. May I have my presentation? I am coming from Vienna. Our office is based there, and I am here trying to talk about inclusive city, about inclusion, about what architecture, as when you understand it as a cultural method, what architecture could do. But therefore I need my presentation. Maybe I need to do something with that. Okay. Oh, I have it. Okay, during you were talking, Marius, I was thinking about a bridge, but I couldn't find one. Maybe the hope into young people. I share that. My students, they are what I would say the future, and I like that I am able to work with them a lot on topics like, for example, what do we do with people in society which are marginalized, which are falling out of society for different reasons. Open Eyes, it's the title of the summit as well. We have situations we don't like, so some people don't see them. We have answers on it, like putting spikes on places where we don't like to have different kinds of living beings, let's say. But we think we are talking so much about equal rights for all and about a fair society. And our experience in more than 20 years working on edges of society is that if you take it serious, honestly, then people who, let's say, are on the edges, they need more. They need more of all we can, more of culture, more of architecture, and I want to talk about that a little bit. What do we offer someone who is living, who is housing, for example, like that? It's, let's say, illegal to live like that in a town like Vienna, so it needs professionals like architects to find solutions. What can we do? And we started with an idea to make a small village for elderly persons for their last period of life, to give them a secure space. We tried this in 2002 and we opened in 2018. So it needs 16 years. It was not because we were too slow. It was because of acceptance. This was quite a big learning that if you want to work on social edges, on marginalized groups of the society, that you don't find acceptance. And you can do the nicest project as an artist, as an architect, but if there is the acceptance missing in the local communities, as we heard already, local communities are very important. But if there's no acceptance, you bring no feet on the ground. Finally, we succeeded, but it was a hard way, 16 years for such a small project. In the meantime, it was bad on one hand that we needed that many years, but on the other hand, we did besides a lot of different projects, and this was the positive thing in this history. So, for example, there's a project in the middle of Vienna. It's in the center, close to the center. It's called Winzirast mittendrin, and I want to show that because for me, it's an example how future in urban life could be as well. We converted the left house into the right one. The left into the right one, yes. In 3 years, so there was the acceptance. What was the learnings? It was for homeless people, but also for students to live together in one place, to live there, to work there. And this was quite interesting learning what happens in the neighborhood in terms of acceptance when you mix groups, when you don't have those ones, but you have a heterogeneous group. And I think the most important thing was how to communicate if you do a project for a group of people which was, let's say, falling out of society. It's all about communication. It's all about how can you, for example, pick up neighbors in their openness and not in their, let's say, Vorurteile, prejudice, what they do when they hear about homeless people. So we started to do a flow market before we start anything else. We invited neighbors to talk to them, but people one-to-one and not in a kind of citizen information. This was for us the start before we started as architects to think about plans. We did these plans, but later on, with the input of the neighbors, of the local community. And we have there 3 floors of shared apartments. They are shared by students and homeless mixed. This was very important for the project. We decided to have single rooms there and not to have double rooms. We could have reached even double as much persons, but it was very important to look very precisely on what someone needs who was living out in the streets for years, for example. We divided as well things, but we divided between private and common. We tried to identify which parts of the house are connected to the rest of the town into the neighborhood and which parts do people need to pull themselves back into privacy. This was our division. And doing so, we were able to identify neighbors and people in the local community as people to help us to realize the project. So it was not like Julia and me, we were talking about that a few hours ago. It's not about architecture as something in the computer. We start it and then we get the permission and then there are the companies and then we open and then the project starts. We tried the project to start in the moment we started, even in the computer. We tried to figure out who could help us to make the project happen. So architecture as process has got so much more chances than just to develop it in your office. We had people from the overnight shelters helping us. We had people from the university, students. We had even kindergartens helping us. And this is something I am so hardly working on to involve, especially young people, in projects which are not that sexy, like, for example, to do a kindergarten, to do a project for homeless. It's quite a barrier between those who want it and those who have to accept it. But as soon as you involve a lot of people in the neighborhood, in the community, then you start the project immediately, and that's what happened in this Wenn Sie Rast mittendrin. We do have workshops there, just to show it a little bit. We have event spaces there, one in the basement. There is a restaurant for all, for the neighborhood, for all people in the district and for students and homeless people with this guest garden. What we don't have, for example, is something like that, indoor corridors. Because what we have heard is that when students and homeless are doing a lot of things together, there might also be conflicts. We have seen that in the Audi Max occupation. This was where the project comes out. There had been problems, but you can, with architecture, you can carry those conflicts on, or you can take the pressure out of projects. So what we did, we put the elevation, for example, outside. So if you meet someone there, you have had a conflict in the evening before, it's a complete different situation. So I'm asked very often, what could architecture help in treating or in housing, let's say, difficult groups, difficult combinations, but we have a lot of tools. There's not the time to talk about all of them, but this elevation thing, it's one example for it. Another example is our open space at the rooftop of the house. We wanted to take off the cover to let out the pressure in the project. So the proposal was to have an open space there for all, for people from the neighborhood as well as people who live there. And this, for example, it works also for event space, for externals. And we were able to pay back the money, the credits we needed for the house in half of the time. So not always these social projects just do it poor. Where is something left over? Where is money left over? Where is a place left over to let the project happen? The idea is to make it more rich, to see what it needs and not only where we have something left over in society. So this place is running now since 11 years, and for me it's an example that if you do architecture more in a cultural way, even if it's about poverty, it's about people we don't have in the middle of society, if you treat it in a different way, and if you treat it as a process, and if you treat it including the word is participation, but not only in talking about the plans, also in realizing things, you have the chance to create a space which is living, which is not this artificial conversion of something old and you add something new and then it doesn't want to fit really. If you work with these ideas, with people you could involve, I think this could be a chance to really find a successful way. I have found this, and it's written there that this is not modified, this image. I think if we talk about a future city, this kind of hard segregation, let's say, of these gated communities, this is something we are on the way. I am afraid that it will be more and more, but this for me, it's not a perspective, not for me personally and not for my children. But I think we have to work against that because this will happen automatically if we go on negotiating people around us which are not part of our bubble, let's say. So I try to be a little bit faster than the ones before, and I'm on the end of my short speech. I don't know whether it fits in your summit, but I think if we talk about an inclusive society, we need to start on the very far edges and to include them. I haven't seen homelessness here in Lodz. I arrived yesterday. Only 2 people might have no home, but I think that this is something which we will be confronted with in future more and more. We can see it in all the other towns, and good luck by having ideas to find the inclusive, the coexistence city. Thank you.